Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Monday, right here on the PTP podcast. See what's going on over there on the YouTubes. Welcome to you, Captain McMuffin. It is complete and utter fuck nuggetry. You're absolutely right. Ranger, what's going on? How you doing? Eric Chenault. Remember to hit the red pill. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate that. What's up, old broad? How are you doing? Nice to see you. Jekyll and Hyde. Did I say hello to you yet? I'm not sure. Ranger, what's happening? Robbie36, welcome to you. Thank you for following. I know you're coming over from Salty's channel, which we will make a special announcement, a special Monday announcement towards the middle of the show sometime. So look out for that because it's going to be something interesting. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm doing well, Eric. I feel okay today, believe it or not. Rusty Cages, welcome to you. Smart Poker, how are you doing, sir? Light Spear is here. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Zombie 5 is in the house. What's up, Zombie 5? Isaac Truth, welcome. Jim Bob, how are you doing, sir? Good to see you. We got the proverbial shit ton of stuff to go over today. We got a lot of interesting news to go over today. And we're going to do a story that was a typical, should have let it marinate for a minute story, but everybody jumped the gun on it. And we'll get to that one in a little bit, but talking about the Iranian president, everybody jumped the gun on that one. But we're going to watch that. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Some Cohen stuff to talk about. We got some Pope stuff to talk about. Video Demon Slayer, welcome. Jewel, hi. How are you? Thanks for being here. Yeah, we even got some stuff, a blast from the past stuff to talk about that nobody really is talking about anymore. But we're going to bring it up here because apparently it's still important. What's up, Ducky? Duppy? Yes. What does that say? Marta Fucking Lardo. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that too. Yeah, because everybody has a friggin' opinion. And of course, I'm going to throw my opinion in there too. So, yeah, Iran and Hells. Yep. Some of the propaganda that's coming out about this, and that's one of the ones that I picked today. I think it's from Fox News, whatever. It's just absolutely funny as shit. Shit happens. And they think because of one incident that it's going to change the entire planet. Anyway, we'll get into it. We're just waiting for some people to file in, get this show started. Welcome to all the lurkers, everybody hanging out, lurking in the background. Appreciate you guys. And like I said, I got a Monday night announcement. We're gonna have a couple of guests on tonight's show, and I'll tell you what we're going to talk about because I'm going to put both of these guys to the test. I have a shit ton of questions that I'm going to ask these people, these two guests tonight, or one guest, two guests, whichever one comes on. And I'm going to let you know who it is. I'll let you know who it is. Now, some people might know from being in their chat earlier today, but that's okay. We ain't worried about it. No, helicopters don't do too good in Iran. Apparently not. But I'm sure it's not the first time that the president flew on a helicopter of Iran, but apparently this time it wasn't that good. So I don't know. Anyway, well, we got that one. We'll talk about it. Oh God, my voice is weird. I asked Mrs. PTP about that yesterday. Does my voice sound weird? I don't know why my voice sounds weird, but to me, I'm hearing it kind of different than I normally hear myself. And she said, yeah, it sounds kind of funky. What's up, Dr. Vales? Judy the Lady Pug, thank you for the cookie.
Cookies!
What's up, Quiltanon? How are you? Anyway, Poonslayer's here. What's up, Poonslayer? Gay helicopters in Iran. Well, I mean, it went down. So, I mean, I don't know if the helicopter was being executed for being gay. I don't know. It's, that's funny, Ranger. Ranger says that the flight is marked safe from Mossad. Anyway, we're going to get into it. Trust me. Pam Day with the can. Welcome, Pam. Thank you. It's normal. Small poker. Okay, we got it. Jeez. Hello, Band Mom. How are you? Welcome. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about today. Everybody knows I am a Roman Catholic. My religion stems from the Vatican. Basically, that's what Roman Catholicism is. It's the Vatican. The Pope is supposed to be my vicar of Christ on earth, and all of that bullshit that goes along with that stuff. Hello, Helen Dixon. Welcome to you. I'm not a Christian, a born-again Christian, or any of that shit. I am a Roman Catholic. I was baptized a Roman Catholic. I'm going to die a Roman Catholic. But for a very, very long time now, I have taken umbrage with the Catholic Church, including the popes that have been elected to run the Catholic Church. So this clip we're going to be playing here is probably one of my least favorite popes for policy in the Roman Catholic Church. Pope Francis. For some reason, can't stand the guy. But hello, Eyes Cry Not. How you doing? Welcome to you. I want you to listen to what Pope Francis says in this interview. No, I am not a roaming Catholic, but a Roman Catholic. I no, actually, Jim Bob, I do roam away from the Vatican. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I want to point out what the Pope is saying in this interview and what the Pope does. Okay, let's watch.
Migration is something that makes a country grow. They say that you Irish migrated and brought the whiskey, and that the Italians migrated and brought the mafia.
So Pope Dipshit over here is trying to be funny and talk about immigration. What's up, Road Dog? And he's saying that the Irish immigrated to the United States and brought whiskey, and the Italians immigrated to the United States and brought the mafia. Congratulations, you just made a fool out of yourself. Now here's what we have here is, and before we move on to what they're saying, I want to put some information out there. The Pope is basically the president, a lifelong appointed president of a country, which is called Vatican City, which is a country inside a country. When I looked it up, the last count, there were 980 residents of Vatican City. 980 residents. That doesn't include the people who filter through, from parishes and stuff like that. They send them to Rome and all that bullshit. So the Vatican City inside of Rome has 980 residents. That's including priests, security, bishops, popes, you name it. 980, less than 1,000 permanent residents. Okay? Let's continue to listen to what he has to say.
It's a joke. Don't take it badly. But migrants sometimes suffer a lot. They suffer a lot. To close the border and leave them there, that is madness. The migrant has to be received. Thereafter, you see how you're going to deal with them. Maybe you have to send them back. I don't know. But each case ought to be considered humanely.
There you've got an extraordinary interview last night on 60.
So an extraordinary interview with the Pope. The Pope's telling the people on 60 Minutes that migrants need to be received, right? Migrants need to be received, and you need to deal with them on a person-to-person basis. Meanwhile, and this is what I love pointing out about the hypocrisy of the Roman Catholic Church, led by this dude. No different than Iran. They're both theocracies ruled by life. Yeah, exactly, Jim Bob, exactly. So the country that's ruled by this guy, the Pope, does not take refugees, asylees, or sanctuary seekers. And also, they have one of the thickest, biggest walls around any city on the planet that was built to keep the Muslims out of the Vatican. Which are built with guard towers and all that stuff and tunnels so they can escape if anything ever happened. So the person who's sitting up here on 60 Minutes preaching for us to take in refugees and asylees, his country doesn't take any of them, including sanctuary seekers. Does anybody find that hypocritical? I don't even know if that's a word, but it sounds good. Let's continue.
Pope Francis giving his take on America's border crisis during a rare sit-down with Norah O'Donnell.
Hypocrisy.
The pontiff saying migrant cases must be considered humanely, and trying to close the border is madness.
And essentially what he was trying to do is she asked him about what's going on in the United States on our southern border. And essentially he was saying that Congress should show more sympathy toward the migrants coming into the United States.
How do you think, as the Catholic sitting here, how do you think the church will feel about that?
Well, historically, the Catholic Church has always been on the side of the migrants, people coming into the country, because the church does not necessarily encourage
Patriot Mom. Unfortunately, they'd be turned away at St. Peter's Square. The Roman Catholic Church does not take asylum seekers. They do not take refugees. I just looked this up this morning. They have no facilities to take asylees, refugees, or people of sanctuary, people searching sanctuary. So say, like, if I ran into a Catholic church and told the priest I want sanctuary, like a lot of these people do, believe it or not. If you did that in Rome, you would be led right out. Because the policy of Vatican City is we do not take sanctuary seekers. Yeah, I don't know, Road Dog. It's got to be a new word. And yeah, practice what you preach, like Zombie just said. How could you sit up here and tell me that we need to have everything on a case by case basis when you won't even take one? You want us to take millions, but you won't even take one. And I don't care that you only have 1,000 residents in your country. You're still a country. You're a bank, right? You have one of the largest banks in the world. You have a GDP, right? You have 1 billion people who give you money, and you're in a better position right now than the United States to take in asylum seekers. Yet here's the Pope passing moral judgment on America. Let's continue.
Necessary migration, but if somebody's knocking on your door, the church teaches you to open the door and take them in and take care of them.
Yeah.
I think most Americans have shown compassion. And the problem is we've been letting them in. And they aren't abiding by the laws of our land. And I think, it reminds me of a passage where they tried to get Jesus involved in a political debate. And they said, hey, Christ, we should pay you the taxes, not pay the state. And you know what Jesus said to him? Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God. And I think we've established certain laws in this country, and they should abide by it. No one is saying we shouldn't be compassionate.
Right. First off, as the second Catholic on the panel,
Right.
I like to say, oh, by the way, Irish and Italian. I took it both. I brought the mob and the whiskey. I mean, my goodness, why is the Pope taking shots at me and my people, my divided people? A couple of things. He does, he's talking generally. He has no idea what we're dealing with here. Does he know that there's over 30 million illegal aliens here in this country? Does he know how?
And look, for as much as people want to say nobody is illegal, right? There's people who walk around with friggin' signs all day long. Nobody is illegal. Open the borders, let everybody in, blah, 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 blah. Okay? We're a country of laws. We have rules that need to be followed. Just like Mexico, just like Guadalupe, just like Nicaragua's, just like Honduras, just like every other country in South America and every other country in the world has rules for their borders. You don't see the Palestinians flooding over the Egyptian border, do you? No, because the Egyptians said, our rules say we're not taking any Palestinian refugees. What's up, Dragon Slayer? Catholic Charities, Dragon Slayer, is a whole different entity than the Catholic Church. They are an NGO, and they take millions, hundreds of millions of dollars from us taxpayers to deal with these people. That could be a whole different live stream. Catholic Charities. That's a ridiculous organization. Every other country in the world, including all countries in the Middle East, and most countries in Europe, except for the European Union, which are our, I think, 27, 28 countries. And look how that turned out. Look how open borders turned out in Europe, which was one of the bigger factors of why Queen Elizabeth, before she croaked, was all for England leaving the European Union, the Brexit thing. Ultimately, she approved Brexit because everybody who thinks that the monarchy doesn't rule, you got another thing coming. Because England is not is not a parliamentary republic like they say. The king and the queen or whoever's running the monarchy still rules the country. They're still the biggest landowners and they make the biggest decisions. For as much as you want to watch that shit on CNN, it's fun to watch, but those people aren't making the true rules. We as Americans, we cannot just go to another country and say we don't want to be in America because we hate Joe Biden, so we're leaving America and we're going to go to Mexico. We got to have passports. We got to have all kinds of documentation to get into Mexico. We can't just go to Mexico, buy property, go to a buy here, pay here place, or buy a truck. We can't do all that shit because they have laws. But the Vatican wants to pass judgment on Americans because we also have laws. We have more undocumented people in this country than the population of most South American countries. The entire population of most American countries, South American countries. And, you know, it's difficult that I can only find a snippet here and a snippet there, but Fox and Friends was one of the ones that had the longer thing about this. About that interview.
How many people have sprinted into our country who don't need refuge? They want to commit dastardly acts. Does he know those are called gotaways? Does he know how many people run over our border guards looking to do the humane thing and instead get run over and those people get into our country anyway? So I don't think he could possibly understand what we're dealing with in terms of illegal immigrants in our country. And legally, we show more compassion than anyone else. While all these other populations are dwindling and falling apart, we get more people because people want to come here, and we have the most humane system possible, but it's been abused. And I'm sure the Pope doesn't fully understand. Also, we brought up Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities making $1 zillion off of our money, goes into the illegal immigration. They get this money. They provide all these essentials for newcomers to come here, and they're using our money to do it. So they're making a ton of money as a nonprofit.
Well, several things. We do treat them humanely. Everyone is in favor of that. No one wants them to be treated poorly.
Law for life.
But they're also breaking the law. And what does the church talk about when it comes to law enforcement? You cannot break the law.
Thank you. That's a great point.
And follow the laws of our leaders. And also, we've all been saying that, but he also wasn't clear on it. He said, should they go back? I don't know. But we do give individuals...
The I don't know part is big.
We do give individuals the opportunity to seek asylum if they are being persecuted, if their lives are at risk in their country, of course.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart.
And for us, of course, we give people that opportunity if they're being persecuted in their country to seek asylum legally here in the United States. That's a no-brainer. Of course we do that. But the Vatican doesn't do that. Right? The Vatican doesn't do that. They have strict protocols not to take people into their country. And believe it or not, the Vatican is a country. It is a country. Like Dragon Slayer said, it's not just Catholic Charities. There are hundreds of organizations, NGOs, non-governmental organizations that our government pays billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to feed, house, clothe, educate, medicate, hibernate, whatever the fuck these people are doing. People who just come over our borders, which we have laws in place for. And it doesn't matter if you're here legally or not. And then the Pope is going to sit there and try and pass a morality judgment on us, saying we should take these people in, or maybe not. Maybe we should send them back. I don't know. Wild Country, Starfire, how you doing? Welcome. I find every time that the Pope opens up his mouth, he buries the Roman Catholic Church deeper and deeper and deeper into hypocrisy. He buries the Catholic Church deeper in blasphemy. Every time he opens his mouth, we are not supposed to have a Pope leading the Catholics of the world who comments on anything but strict biblical doctrine. That's it. That's it. I believe that Pope John Paul II, and that was back in the, what was that, the late 80s, when he was there. He was the last Pope to lead the Catholic people by doctrine. Everybody since then, it's policy. So instead of turning the Vatican into the place where the holiest of holies is, the true vicar of Christ on earth is supposed to be, they turned it into a city, a bank, a Fort Knox, basically, with the amount of gold that they have, and a leader who's now a policymaker for other countries, while the countries that are taking in all of these policies, the Roman Catholic Church is collecting billions of dollars from, and it's going into their banks. I can't see a Pope. Hey, what's up, woke guitarist? Trick Pony. Thank you. Welcome. Appreciate the cookie. Cookie! Yeah, I have a really hard time being a Roman Catholic, born and raised. Born and raised, baptized a Roman Catholic, and listening to the hypocrisy of the Vatican get farther and farther and farther and further away, cementing my idea that I made the right decision to walk away from the Roman Catholic Church. I don't see anything drawing me back in. Every time this guy opens his mouth, it draws me farther and farther away. Tell me if you feel the same way. Because remember, we're supposed to look at the Pope as our spiritual leader, not a person who spews hypocrisies with forked tongue every time he opens his mouth. Anyway, we'll that just irked me. It just irked me. These that guy just irks me. But anyway, so that's the first thing that we had today. Let me say welcome to everybody who's hanging out in the background. I appreciate all you guys. Anybody who's lurking over on the D Live, on the YouTubes, on the X, welcome to all you, and everybody who's lurking over there on pilled.net. Everett Home, how are you doing? No, never. And thank you for the gold pills. Appreciate it. Keep them coming. I can always use them. Okay. So Yesterday, when we went out yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I don't remember when it was. I have no sense of days anymore, but Mrs. PTP told me about what happened with the Iranian president crashing, his helicopter crashing. And what's up, Cisco Kid? And I said, well, I saw it on Smart News, and it said that they didn't crash. Hi, D. Richards. Good afternoon, morning, evening, whatever it is, wherever it is you are. It didn't crash. It just had a hard landing. Then I told Mrs. PTP, I said, it must have been during a show, because I said, I'm not going to talk about it until we find out what went on. The proverbial let it marinate for a minute. But apparently the helicopter crashed into the side of a mountain, and everybody was killed, including the president and his chief of staff, or whatever the hell, it's secretary of dumb fuckery over there in Iran. I don't know who the hell else did it. But now that the facts have come out, and we know what happened, let's watch the clip, and we're gonna watch the fear porn. Just jump and just woohoo.
We're back with a Fox News alert. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and his foreign minister both confirmed dead in a helicopter crash nearly 400 miles from Tehran.
Their deaths coming at a critical time for tensions and stability in the Middle East. Alex Hogan is live overseas with the very latest. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Carly and Todd. So the fog and the rain really only complicated these search and rescue efforts. Teams in the region in this mountainous area had tried to rely on drones to be able to comb through some of the landscape searching for the president. But because, again, of the weather conditions, any kind of air search was impossible, and ground forces were the forces that they really needed to rely on, which, of course, just takes more time. All of this comes after a trip to the border with Azerbaijan.
Duppy, that's funny. And yes, Captain McMuffin, I heard they were going to behead the mountain that killed the president. He's due for execution next week. The mountain's going to be beheaded, so yeah. But Duppy, that was Duppy said a hard landing is like saying Whoopi is big boned.
On with the president Ibrahim Raisi meeting with his counterparts when that helicopter went missing. This is a closer look at that suspected crash site. It's about 12 miles from the Azerbaijan-Iranian border. Now, as many as 40 rescue teams responded to this team. The two other helicopters that had been traveling with them made it back to Iran safely. Now, state media today are reporting that the chopper slammed into a mountain peak, although there's no specifics just yet as to whether or not there may have been anything else wrong with this specific helicopter. And Israel today has reportedly denied any involvement. Now, this breaking news is sending shock.
Hold on. Jim Bob, you're absolutely right. And that's the reason why I'm playing this particular clip, is because we have to hear what they're going to say. But first of all, why would Israel, when they're reporting that the helicopter crashed into the side of a mountain in adverse weather, it was raining and it was froggy out, why would Israel say, hey, we ain't got shit to do with this? Why would you say that? Accidents happen. Planes crash all the time. And nobody blames Israel. But now Israel feels that it needs to come out and say that it had no part of this. I'm just curious. I mean, that just made me curious about why would you say that? But anyway, let's continue.
Waves not only within the region, but really around the world. Neighboring countries are now calling for days of mourning and issuing their condolences, including some Iranian-backed militant groups like Hamas, which issued a statement of sympathy. Now, today, the supreme leader has officially tapped the country's first vice president, Mohammed Makbar, to step in as president. And under the country's constitution, what would play out moving forward, the vice president would be tapped, becoming president, and then there would be an election to play out within the next 50 days. Carly, Todd.
All right, Alex Hogan live for us in London, tracking it all. Alex, thank you so much. Let's bring in national security and military analyst and international relations expert, Dr. Rebecca Grant.
So international relations expert Rebecca Grant is going to give us the analyzation of what's really going to happen in Iran now that the president slammed into the side of a mountain in a 50-year-old helicopter that was an American helicopter, supposedly. Anyway, let's listen.
Dr. Grant, good morning to you. Ibrahim Raisi, known as the Butcher of Tehran because he oversaw the mass executions of thousands of political prisoners in 1988. He also became president in a historically uncompetitive election in 2021. So what do you think about his death and what it means moving forward?
Well, Ibrahim Raisi is the man who made Iran more dangerous than ever. Just in the 3 years that he was president, he forged a tighter alliance with Russia. The UN nuclear agency tells us that Iran has almost enough enriched uranium for probably 5 nuclear bombs. This is.
Oh my God, Iran has enough enriched uranium for at least 5 nuclear bombs. Oh my God, at least 5. There is an undercurrent of Mossad. Did it? Whispers. Hey, we don't know. We don't know.
All happened on his watch. He won't allow UN inspectors into Iran. And then, of course, the stunning failed attack on Israel. So Raisi has put Iran at the center of chaos in a way we haven't seen before. And all eyes on his successor, his caretaker successor here, to see what his next moves will be.
What's the impact on Iran's allies / our enemies? I'm looking at Russia, North Korea, China.
Exactly the lineup, and Iran's best allies are our enemies. Got to start with China, who, in defying all the sanctions and buying all of Iran's oil, China is really the nation that empowers Iran. That's why Raisi was able to act in the manner that he did. The new acting president.
I'm sorry, but who is the one who is allowing, by lifting sanctions and throwing pallets of money through NGOs, by the way, Dragon Slayer, at Iran to fund China buying up all of their not only natural oil that's coming out of the ground, but processed fuel. Who's the country who's allowing that to happen? Where just 5 short years ago, Iran was in a stranglehold to where they couldn't export anything because we had a tariff hold on China, saying if you buy anything you're not supposed to, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop being very nice with our tariffs. And they tried Trump, and Trump put tariffs on them. Oh, but who lifted the tariffs to allow this shit to happen now in Iran? Just a little caveat there that you all can answer.
Mr. Makbar is actually the man who negotiated the deal for Iran to sell its drones and missiles to Russia in order to use them against Ukraine. So he's the key man in the Russia alliance. I don't see any short-term changes there in that tight China, Russia, Iran, and possibly North Korea axis as well. So Iran, even with this stunning development, remains very dangerous, and of course, pushing terrorism and supporting all that throughout the region.
Yeah, and there will be an election to replace him in 50 days. And one of the names that has been floated so far is the Supreme Leader's son, keeping the power in the family. Dr. Grant, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm Steve Doocy.
Okay, so feeding off of what Jim Bob said, is there going to be a change in Iran? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There are some people who are out there saying that hey Josie, how you doing? That the people in Iran, this is the time. This is the time for you to stand up and take your country back. Meanwhile, right now, because the dude slammed into a mountain, allegedly, supposedly, hypodermically, we have no idea. Right? This is what the media is telling us. That what this dude slammed into a mountain, him and the foreign minister, boom, done, dead deal. That the vice president is in charge for the next 50 days. Do you think anything in Iran's going to change in the next 50 days? Absolutely not. Because it's not even really the people who are slamming into mountains, their vice presidents, their sons, or any other shit that's running Iran. None of it is. You can have a dozen Iranian presidents slam into a fucking mountain, and Iran is still going to be run the same exact way. Does that make sense, Jim Bob? Does that make sense? You're going to be run the same exact way. Iraq is going to be run the same exact way. Afghanistan is going to be run the same exact way. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the UAE, Dubai, Bahrain, on and on, Syria, Lebanon, you name it, they're all going to be run the same exact way. Because the people who are living and ruling in these countries are nothing more than figureheads. That's all that they are, including the one who's running this country. There you go. Remember, Iran has had the cusp of a nuclear bomb being built for the last 15 years. Bibi Netanyahu used to do presentations on it. Y'all remember that? Does anybody really think that this guy dying in a plane crash, if he really did, who knows? He could be with the head of the Wagner Group somewhere in the Bahamas sipping margaritas. Who knows? You think anything in Iran? You think the people are going to rise up? Come on. That's why you got to let shit marinate. You can't just jump on a story and say, "Oh, what's going to happen?" Like CNN and MSNBC saying that they should rise up. This is an opportunity for the people of Iran to take their country back. Like the IRGC doesn't exist. The ones who were shooting you before in the streets, they're still there. So anyway, we don't know anything, impeach them all, right? We know nothing. We know the people who are in charge of the bullshit. We know that there may be special extenuating circumstances, right? Of why. And we're going to show you in a later clip. I'm going to show you in a later clip. Which clip is that? Not the next clip, but the clip after that. Why it's very possible that this could be a ruse. But I want to let what you just saw marinate for a minute. That's why I stuck something in between it. Believe it or not, I planned this shit out. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell all you guys here right now, before we move on to the next clip, right? Think about what's going on here in Iran and stuff like that. Keep it in the back of your brain pan. Okay, let it marinate back there with all them juices. And before we move on to the next clip, which has to do with Marta Lardos. Marta freaking Lardos. I want to announce today's Monday. I don't think I need to announce that, but I got to give you a little scenario. I was watching somebody's live stream earlier, and they had some people on their live stream. They were showing Tim Pool, who was not a favorite of mine, and they were talking about Donald Trump as the Antichrist. So, of course, when I hear that, and I don't know if those guys are here. I don't know if they're still live streaming or not. Let me check real quick. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Actually, he's still on right now. So when I hear that, I automatically have 237.6 billion questions to ask about that stuff. Vanita, thank you for the cookie. Cookie! Red Gun, thank you for the cookie. Cookie! Could this be the beginnings of a cookie fight? Because I can use one. So what I did was I was listening to him play Tim Pool, and then he had little comments in the chats. The host of the show had little comments in the chats. So I told the host of the show on Pilled, I said, you need to come on my show tonight because I have a lot of questions that I need to ask of you if you believe this stuff that's going on. And of course, he graciously accepted my invitation. So tonight, Monday night, which I wasn't planning this until I saw it, but I will have Salty Nuts on the panel with Warrior in the Garden. And we're going to be talking about why they think, because Salty Nuts invoked Warrior and said that he would like to have him as backup, and Warrior, I mean not Warrior, M1911 Zoom, thank you, and Red, thank you, Red Gun, said that they had stuff to back it up. So interesting. I got questions. I got lots of questions. I'm gonna hold these people's feet to the fire, and I would like for everybody to be there tonight to witness that. Thank you again, Red Gun. Hey, hi, Miss 320. How you doing? Jeff B, what's going on? How you doing? We got to remember we're putting Donald Trump in a category of an antichrist. You just can't play somebody's live stream and agree with that. You're going to have to throw some receipts, some sauce, maybe a couple of meatballs. I don't know what's going on, but I got a lot of questions. It's going to be tonight at 6:00, avocado time. So make sure that you look out for the promo on Pilled and on YouTube. Click on that promo. Give me a thumbs up or a red pill or whatever. And I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I got a lot of questions, and I'm going to ask them all. So I look forward to that tonight, and I'll remind you guys at the end of the show too. But with that being said, You got to remember who's the one who chose the Antichrist, right? And that's another question I have to ask. If somebody like Tim Pool even knows who predicted who the Antichrist is. And is this the third building of the temple and all that stuff? Like, I have a lot of questions. Well, Malby, be here and I'll ask some of those questions too. I'm just saying, I got lots of questions. All right. Anyway, I'll remind you guys at the end of the show. Let's move on because we got a lot of shit to go through here. So the next one we got is with Michael Cohen.
And jury consultant Alan Turkheimer. And Alan, it's great to have you. And when you listen to what the jury has been listening to this morning, how do you see that there, and Anna was just mentioning a little while ago, as though it seems that at moments today, the jury was kind of looking away from Cohen and from Bovee and actually looking around to seeing who was coming in. Does that tell you anything?
I think even before that, he's been on the stand for a long time, and I think jurors have already made up their mind. They've already assessed his credibility. They didn't come away thinking he's the most credible witness. They understand.
So this guy right here, this is CNN, right? CNN? Yeah. Oh, MSNBC. Sorry, MSNBC. These are people who are in the courtroom. Red Gun, thank you for the cookie. There you go. These are people who are sitting in the courtroom right next to the jurors, I should say. And while Michael Cohen is testifying, they're looking in other directions and they're talking to each other and doodling and doing all this stuff because Michael Cohen blew it. He blew it. It's as simple as that. There is no way, unless you are compromised as a juror, listening to everything that happened last week and his testimony today with eyewitnesses that are saying that the jury's not even paying attention to him, that you can say it's a guilty verdict for Donald Trump. Unless you're compromised. And that's the key word here, compromised.
Understand that he's been less than truthful, to put it nicely, on many occasions. So at this point, it's getting where jurors might think that his testimony is going to be redundant or maybe overkill. So they've made up their minds. Now, of course, they're keeping an open mind, and there's going to be maybe a few more witnesses and more questions with Michael Cohen. But at this point, I think they've seen enough, and I think most of them have a pretty firm idea of what he's all about and how he connects the former president to the payments and then the records, his involvement in that. But also there's some jurors who are doubting his credibility and how he maybe takes things into his own hands. So it's very interesting where they stand, but wherever they stand, I think they're pretty firmly committed to their assessment of Michael Cohen at this point.
So if they've made an assessment on Michael Cohen and he's expected to be the prosecution's final witness, we would move into the next stage of this trial, which would be the defense's turn to put on a case. Still unclear if they will call any witnesses. Does it help or hurt defense typically to not call any witnesses?
Very true. To call witnesses. Now, of course, you can make the argument that the prosecution didn't carry their burden, so we don't need to do anything, and they don't need to do anything. That can be persuasive, but I always think it's good.
And that's something that Trump's lawyers better heed. They better not call any witnesses. They don't need that one guy, whoever that one guy is, who's now coming out of the woodwork again. Leave the testimony with Michael Cohen. It's as simple as that. Remember, in a criminal trial, the burden of proof is on the prosecution, not the defense. The defense does not have to prove innocence. The prosecution has to prove guilt. Plain Truth and Tawanda, what's happening? And I believe in this case so far, the prosecution has failed. Every single witness they put up there has failed to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. including all the paperwork, all of the Hooker's testimony, and all of Michael Cohen's testimony, the star witness. They failed. It would be how do you say that? It would be lawyers' misconduct, or it would be a bad fucking idea. Let's just put it that way. If Trump's lawyers put anybody else on the stand, cross-examine all you want, their witnesses, but don't put any of your own witnesses on the stand, because just leave it with Michael Cohen and say, we rest our case. Let the jury marinate on that shit. This guy right here, who's a pundit already of the left-wing bullshit media, is saying that the jury has no interest in what Michael Cohen is saying. Plus, we have to hope that Judge Marchand there instructs the jury to find out if you lie on the witness stand, you're to disregard your entire testimony, which Michael Cohen got caught lying 3 times. So let's listen to what he says about putting witnesses on the stand for the defense.
Jurors expect it, given the rules of litigation and criminal matters. I think jurors usually expect that the defense at least put somebody on. Now, of course, the defense can argue that all they needed to do was cross-examine the witnesses, but jurors do expect defendants to come in there and present some witnesses on their behalf.
But another interesting,
But that doesn't make sense, because like I said, the burden of proof is on the prosecution, not the defense. The defense doesn't have to bring any witnesses. They don't even have to cross-examine if they don't want to. All they got to do is sit there legally by law. What you're saying, the jury likes to see defense witnesses for what? If your case doesn't hinge on a witness, what does it matter? The jury takes the information that they have and they make a decision with it. That's just lawyer double talk, because it would be a miscarriage of lawyerdom. I don't even know how to say that shit. If they brought any witnesses for the defense, including that one guy who said Michael Cohen was going to kill himself.
Talking about the importance of specific key facts, and if the jury determines that this witness lied on these key facts, is there a difference in that, look, the witness can say, look, yeah, I've lied in the past, but I'm not lying now. How do you determine that?
So, and that's why I say it's all going to come down to closing arguments, because the prosecution is going to have to emphasize how to evaluate Michael Cohen and how to evaluate credibility, because the jury instruction itself says if you lied about a material fact, not about what time of day it was, what time the call was it on a different day, but something material. And something material will be like when he met with Donald Trump, when did they devise this plan with Alan Weisselberg of how to break down these payments, and what the purpose of that payment was for. So in terms of Michael Cohen's credibility, yes, he's been someone, he's been convicted of a crime. Yes, he was in jail for a year. Yes, he wants to go after Donald Trump. And you heard his podcast interview where for the first time the jury got to hear the real Michael Cohen. He's not a likable guy. But as a prosecutor, and
you see, she talked about that phone call. The phone call where supposedly Michael Cohen said he talked to Donald Trump specifically, and this is one of the lies he got caught in, specifically about the $130,000 payment on a 72-second phone call that had nothing to do with Donald Trump, but had everything to do with Donald Trump's aide talking about the Secret Service looking into a prank 14-year-old caller. So not only did the paperwork where they tried to link the checks that said for legal services that had nothing to do with paying the hooker fail miserably, according to CNN and MSNBC, but the phone call itself failed miserably. Caught him in, that's the 2 lies that they caught him in. When he said, I have checks that he's paying me back for the hush money payment. And the checks, they're the same checks from 5 years ago. Legal fees. So those are 2 of the lies that he got caught on. And now they're even, you're watching the mainstream media backpedal on Michael Cohen because they were on his penis so hard that he was going to put Trump in jail, and he failed miserably, even invoking his own podcast about how he hates Trump so much. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried.
Had to put people that have robbed people, shot people, stabbed people as my main witness. What I used to argue to them is, look, when you cast a play in hell, there are no angels to play the part. You are not going to find a perfect witness. Everyone has their flaws. But let's look at the person and when they testified specifically as to the crucial facts, how is it corroborated and how did he come off on the stand? And Michael Cohen, from me being in the court, he came off credible. He came off believable. He came off human. Does he have...
He came off credible, believable, and human. That's the backpedal, right? Even though she knows, she just said he got caught in a lie, that his podcast was him screaming about how much he hates Trump and wants to see him in prison. Remember, he was wearing a shirt with Trump behind bars. He lied about the paperwork. The jury was told he lied about the paperwork. He lied about the phone call. The jury was told he lied about the phone call. But this lady is saying he came across as human, credible, and Boy Scout worthy. This is their backpedal. This is the, if you notice, and I don't know if how many people would notice because it's been a minute. This is the same thing that they did with Michael Avenatti. When the allegations started coming out about Michael Avenatti, that he took money from a paraplegic, that he was buying Ferraris with settlements and not giving the settlements to his clients. When he took money from Stormy Daniels, the mainstream media backpedaled against Michael Avenatti almost like they were running a marathon. The one from Michael Avenatti is going to be president of the United States running against Trump to we shouldn't have him on our show anymore and leave snail trails when we talk to him. This is exactly what's happening with Michael Cohen. Exactly. Everybody's trying to back away from him while making him sound like an angel. You're watching it live. I can't make this shit up. It's right here.
Have a vendetta against Donald Trump? Absolutely. And I will embrace it because you know what? He spent 13 months in jail thinking about each and every day, why am I here? For trying to help out Donald Trump. That's why I'm here. So I expect him to be mad. And that's why the prosecution needs to embrace that obsession, embrace that anger, and sell it to a jury because I think.
But nothing that he did involved Donald Trump. You don't understand that you have neglected to bring the burden of proof to your case. Michael Cohen mortgaged his house. He didn't mortgage Mar-a-Lago. He mortgaged his house. He made the payment to Stormy Daniels from his accounts. He lied to his wife. He manufactured fake taxi cab medallions and collected the money from them. He's the one who went and lied in front of Congress. Donald Trump didn't do any of this stuff. There is no burden of guilt. So why is Michael Cohen so angry with Donald Trump? All the evidence points to this dickhead, not to Donald Trump. Or am I not seeing it right? I'm sorry, maybe I'm seeing it the wrong way.
That as human beings, we can see and accept that and embrace it. Of course he's going to be mad. Of course he wants to go after him. But is he lying about how we got here?
Can closing arguments, Alan, make a big difference when it comes to jurors, sending them into deliberations?
Yes. Absolutely. There's plenty of uncertainty, but one thing we know is jurors aren't going to be talking about how Michael Cohen is an angel in the deliberations. But closings are crucial. So at this point, as I mentioned earlier, the jurors have made up their minds for the most part. And so closings are not really for persuasion. They're more to empower the individual members on the jury to take the arguments and then use them in the deliberations to persuade others. So that's going to be really important to tie everything together to characterize the evidence, to characterize the testimony, and continue on with the story, because that's what jurors need. That's what they've been getting. But now everything has to be tied together. The law has to be incorporated. And so closing arguments are going to be made. And they're going to target the leaders who they think are going to be the leaders in the deliberation. And so you might hear some arguments that are tailored to certain individual jurors. But no matter what happens, the closings are going to be really important to set the stage for the deliberation process.
So I'm curious of how Alvin Bragg, right? I'm curious about how Alvin Bragg is going to target the prime deliberators in the jury with no facts, with no evidence. I mean, what do? You say, okay, I understand Michael Cohen, my star witness, everything that this trial hinged on is a liar. You understand he's a liar, but believe me when I say that everything that he said today was the truth. We should be allowed to see this. We should be allowed, the American people should be allowed to see what kind of closing argument. We should have been able to see the whole trial, but we should be able to see what kind of closing argument that the prosecution is going to make to the jury in order to convince them that both their star witnesses were telling the truth. That would put Alvin Bragg in a compromising position to lie to the jury. And unfortunately, the judge in this case, who pretty much denied everything that the defense said, put a gag order on the defendant, and yada, 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 would never hold him in contempt of court, unfortunately. I think so too, Jim Bob. The judge's instructions will be absolutely critical. And what I'm saying is that Judge Merchan should say, if you found that any of the witnesses were untruthful in their testimony, you need to disregard their testimony entirely. Because Michael Cohen, like I said, was pointed out 3 different times lying. 3 different times on the stand just this week. He lied on his podcast. He lied on MSNBC, on CNN, on Fox News, on every place that he can get his face in order to say, subscribe to my channels, my Mea Culpa podcast. Subscribe to the Mea Culpa. By the way, you can subscribe to the PTP podcast. Just hit the subscribe button, $5 a month. Helps the channel out. It's better than giving Michael Cohen a subscription. Or Chunky Yogurt, for that matter. Subscribe. But the judge is absolutely going to be a critical point with the instructions. And if he does not give those instructions, which he's legally bound to, I believe, from what we talked about the last time about those instructions, I don't know what the hell's going to happen. Once again, it could be all political theater. It could be all predetermined. We don't know. It could be all distraction. We don't know. But what we do know is that they keep throwing it in our face, and we still have to report on it. So that's what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do. So anyway, this week will be a yeah, I agree, Eric Chenault. He's already compromised. I think the judge is already compromised. He should have recused himself because of his daughter. But we don't. I guess that doesn't matter anymore. I don't know. Okay. Let me move on. Let me move on. All right, so we're going to get to the last segment tonight. Now, I told you I was going to let you have that Iranian stuff marinate in the back of your head while we talked about Mr. Marta Lardos. Marta freaking Lardos. Because what we have here is the last segment. Could be a simple reason why. I'm not saying I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Okay? I'm not working on any of that shit. I'm just saying. It's out there. I'm going to report on it. It's as simple as that. This is from this morning. This morning. Okay? Let's go.
Following this breaking news, the International Criminal Court moments ago announced it is seeking arrest warrants for the leaders of Hamas for the October 7th terrorist attack in Israel, and also seeking arrest warrants for the political and military leadership of the State of Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, Hamas's top political and military leaders also being sought for crimes against humanity, all named just now. CNN's chief international anchor, Christiane.
Crimes against humanity. Breaking news this morning. Day and a half after the leader of Israel, the leader of Iran sucks the side of a mountain in a helicopter. Okay? Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Ask Eric Chenault. He can confirm. I am not a conspiracy theorist. But a day and a half after the Iranian president crashes and dies into a mountain, the International Criminal Court, The Hague, is charging Hamas and the leaders of Hamas with crimes against humanity. Now bring all that juice from the back of your brain pan, bring it up to the front, and let it marinate with the old and the new, and let it go together. Okay? Let's watch.
And Amanpour has this exclusive interview with the special prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, who announced it to her just moments ago. And she's joining us right now from The Hague. Christiane, tell us more about what you've learned.
Well, Kate, we broke this earlier on CNN some 20 minutes ago. It is an incredibly important turning point in this war since Hamas invaded parts of Israel, slaughtered so many people, took so many hostages, and in the aftermath since Israel went to war against Hamas and has caused so many civilian casualties, and what international officials say starvation and famine also imposed. So these form.
Okay, so who's funding Hamas? Hamas is a militant wing of what country? They're not an independent wing. Hamas doesn't have a GDP. Hamas doesn't have a legitimate government. Right? They don't have any of that. They are a terrorist organization, according to the United Nations and NATO and the U.S. and every other country in the world. Hamas is a terrorist organization. And who funds the terrorist organization? I wonder if they're going to tell us.
the basis of the ICC charges, and they are now seeking warrants, seeking arrest warrants that will have to be approved by a panel of independent judges here. I am at the ICC based on these things that I told you. And here are the crimes. There are some 8 crimes, charges alleged on both sides, starting with Hamas because of the timeline, obviously. October 7th was what Hamas did. Here's what he told me. We're here at the ICC. You are today announcing that you are applying for arrest warrants for top military and political leadership in the Israel-Gaza war since the October 7th events. First and foremost, explain to me exactly what you're asking for and who you are charging.
Today, Christiane, we've applied for warrants to the pretrial chamber of the...
I think Band Mom has it. It's the country of CIA.
International Criminal Court in relation to 3 individuals that are Hamas members. Sinwar, who's in charge on the ground.
That's Yahya Sinwar?
Absolutely. Dave, who's in charge of the Al-Qassam Brigade. And Hania, who's one of their political bureau based in Doha.
What are the charges?
The charges are extermination, murder, taking of hostages, rape and sexual assault in detention. So these are the key crimes that are alleged to have been committed by these 3 individuals. The world was shocked on the 7th of October when people were ripped from their bedrooms, from their homes, from the different kibbutzim in Israel. And people have suffered enormously, and we have a variety of evidence to support the applications that we've submitted to the judges.
You have also issued warrants against the top political and military leadership of the government of the State of Israel.
We've applied for warrants. Of course, the judges must determine whether or not to issue them, but we've applied today, we'll apply for warrants for Prime Minister Netanyahu and also Minister of Defense Gallant.
So they applied for warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and the Defense Minister Gallant in Israel. Okay? So my question is, this is my question. How come the International Criminal Court didn't go after Halliburton, George Bush Jr., okay? Our allies, when we went into Iraq and killed 1 million people, civilians, for weapons of mass destruction that never existed. How come we weren't, as the United States, our government charged in International Criminal Court? It's because the United States doesn't recognize the International Criminal Court. Either does Israel. Therefore, if you don't recognize it, you can't be charged under it. So you can go out and commit whatever you want to commit. If you want to destroy a country because of whatever Hillary Clinton tells you to do, or you want to build a bridge or a canal and you want to wipe out an indigenous people living in their land, you can do it with no consequences. Because they're not going to get international warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu or Gallant, his defense minister. These are elected officials of a country that was supposedly legitimately attacked by a terrorist organization. And if the warrants are coming out for Hamas, believe you me, the people who are giving the money to Hamas, which in this case is the government of Iran, should also be, now I say that in jest, you all know that, should also be charged in the International Criminal Court for giving weapons and aid to the people who are doing the slaughtering. Because without those weapons and aid, monetary aid, the slaughtering wouldn't have happened. And then it's convenient that this comes out this morning, breaking news, beep, 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 breaking news. Hold on. Breaking news. And a day and a half before, the Iranian president, the guy who is called the Butcher of Tehran, happens to die in a plane crash? Come on.
For crimes of causing extermination, causing starvation as a method of war, including the denial of humanity.
The reason why I say in jest, Just Josie, is, because the CIA, hold on a second, before we go with the CIA, let's look at Five Eyes. Mossad, the CIA, MI5, MI6, and the other people from Germany, the Der Blundersplatz, or whatever the hell they're called. These clandestine operations are the ones who are funding all of this shit. That's why I say the Iranian leader in jest, because like I said before in the clip before that you were supposed to have marinating in the back of your head, these people are not running these countries. They're not running these countries. These clandestine organizations are the ones that are printing the money, funding the organizations, funding the coups, providing the weapons, yada, 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 yada. That's why I say in jest.
Humanitarian relief supplies, deliberately targeting civilians in conflict.
So what you're hearing is the layout of the crimes. So it is crimes against humanity and war crimes. And in addition, the prosecutor has said, just so that everybody understands, that he has issued this request for arrest warrants based on the reasonable belief on grounds that these are criminal offenses that can meet a conviction standard. It's not just reasonable grounds that they could go to trial. This is higher, the standard of conviction based on the evidence that he and his teams have collected so far and that are in the public domain.
Christian, Sarah here. A couple of things. One, I wanted to ask you just about the unprecedented nature that this is, I think, the first time that a Democratic government has been brought under these potential warrants, and how they've gone about gathering evidence when getting into Gaza off is very, very difficult.
So on the first issue, I put that to Prosecutor Karim Khan, obviously, and I said this is the first time that this has happened in a democratic situation when we're talking about the Israeli side. And he said that is true. And if Israel were to take this up or had taken it up, the judicial system, when we first warned about this months ago, then they would have jurisdiction. If they choose to do so now, they will have jurisdiction. So that's clear. He said that they have not chosen to do such a thing, even though, as he said to me, and he said it publicly, that when I warned at all these international conferences, when I warned in my face-to-face meetings with Israeli officials that this is the warning, aid is not getting through, starvation is setting in, people are dying, that don't complain if then my office does something about it if you don't. So that's
okay. So look, let's quarterback this out real quick. The International Criminal Court is of the same cloth as the United Nations and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. They all stem from the same place, the end of World War II. Right? We had the NATO pop up, right? So we would never have another war that could do what it did to Europe. And the United Nations, which were a coalition, blah, blah, I don't have to give you a friggin' history lesson. But the ICC, the International Criminal Court, came of the Nuremberg trials, where we, the United States, France, and Great Britain, and Russia, and Poland to an extent, not really that much in Poland, but we were going to hold the Germans accountable for the crimes against humanity and the atrocities that they committed during World War II. Now, I'm not going to get into if the Holocaust was real or any of that shit. Maybe we'll talk about that tonight. Who knows? Every time we have Salty Nuts on, usually the Jews come up in the Holocaust, so it's always fun. Anyway, so we all know what happened as a result of the Nuremberg trials. There were 33 defendants. 13 of them got a death sentence, and very few of them, I don't remember the exact number, I think 11 out of the 13, because Göring and Himmler killed themselves, allegedly, were executed. The rest spent time in prison. They got out and they lived their lives. Nazis here, Nazis there, Nazis everywhere, blah, 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 blah. Now the International Criminal Court is using the same crimes that we never held any of the German high command responsible for, or low command for that matter, to say that Benjamin Netanyahu, his defense minister, and a terrorist organization are committing crimes against humanity. Okay? It doesn't smell right. It doesn't make sense. You have ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant and Syria, whatever you want to call it, ISIL, ISIS, whatever, that was supposedly decimated by the Trump administration, running roughshod all over Africa, North Africa, and the Middle East, imposing Sharia law, executing people, doing what they're doing. Just because you don't see it on the mainstream media doesn't mean it's not happening. I don't see any crimes against humanity there. You have a slaughter happening in the Sudan right now. The military in Sudan is going village by village, executing people and murdering people who don't agree with the military government in the Sudan. No crimes against humanity there. Somalia, one of the biggest weapons depots on the planet, responsible for millions of people's deaths, with these people selling, buying, trading guns in massive quantities. No crimes against humanity there. We can go on and on with these small African countries. What's going on in Rwanda right now over natural resources? People going through all of these mining camps and hacking people to death with machetes. Just because you don't see it in the mainstream media doesn't mean it's not happening. No crimes against humanity there. No UN troops going in. No, none of that shit. But because this is going on to the Palestinians, you have the International Criminal Court getting warrants against people. Let's continue. I felt like I had to point that out, because just like we talked about the Pope, this shit is one ginormous hemorrhoidal hypocrisy. And the hypocrisy. And it needs to be it needs to be pointed out. Smart Pokey, that is a great fucking statement. Planned Parenthood kills how many babies every year, particularly babies of color, every year? That should be a crime against humanity. But yet, those people aren't in the International Criminal Court. Great fucking statement.
On that issue. And then on the other issue of evidence, part of it is in the public domain. Part of it is what's been reported over and again. Part of it is what's been said. And I'm talking about Israel now. Obviously, we're going to get to the Hamas thing. It's important to know that in the prosecutor's timeline, in his indictment sheet, and you'll see on the press release, they listed the crimes that they are charging Hamas with on October 7th. And we'll get to that in a second. But since you're asking me about the unprecedented nature of a democracy being so charged, they go back to Yoav Gallant, because don't forget, Yoav Gallant, Defense Minister of Israel, has also been charged, and they, among others, see as intent his statement on October the 9th. We are imposing a complete siege. There will be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we will act accordingly. Netanyahu, October 13th. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come. Now, that's part of it. The other part is all the physical and other testimony by U.S. officials, let's say USAID, by international aid organizations, the UN, and all the others, by the very fact that the United States has had to build some pier on the side of Gaza, and some countries have had to drop aid in, that the demand for aid going in is not happening. And this is the basis of the majority.
But why is it not happening? What's up, Decub? Yeah, exactly. We are ruled by ghouls. Why is the aid not getting to the people of Palestine? Why are the Gazonians starving? Are you going to answer the question? Or are you just going to say that because of the war, they're not getting aid? That's just not true. The Egyptians and the Jordanians keep saying that the food that they're sending in, including the food that's sent in by airdrops, are being confiscated by Hamas to feed their battalions that are stuck in the ass end of Rafah, while forcing the Palestinians to start moving northeasterly out of Rafah back up to the destroyed country. I ain't making no excuses for Israel. I'm not making excuses for anybody. But get your shit together. Get your shit together. Hamas is taking the USAID. They're the ones that closed the border between Egypt and the Gaza Strip. Now that the Jews are in there, the border is now in their control, and it's now Egypt's call to open that border and let aid in, not the Israelis. I mean, just get your shit straight. You report one day about one thing, and then hypocriticize yourself the next day about it.
Of the case against Israel at the moment, that this is, no matter, as he explained, Israel, of course, has the right under any statute to defend itself from attack, but has to protect civilians. And this is something the United States has been calling for from the very...
And that's exactly right, Eric. It's the same thing that's always happened, especially in Africa. The warlords in Africa, when we would ship in stuff through airplanes and through trucks and through whatever we did, the warlords would take the food supplies and starve the people. That's what war is. Is it unfortunate? Absolutely. Do innocent people die? Fucking A. But that's what war is. That's the way this shit happens. There are billions and billions of dollars in food that never got to the people, trillions of dollars in food that never got to the people it was intended for. With all the good intentions that we have, there's some fucking terrorist dude sitting there with an AK strapped to his chest, eating a pouch of oatmeal from USAID. That's just the way it's going to fucking be.
Very beginning, as well as many, many others of Israel's allies. So they believe that that has not been adhered to, that aid has not gone in, that famine in enough bulk, that famine is there in some parts, and that there have been deaths by starvation and malnutrition related diseases. Now,
oh, and by the way, what about South Africa? What about the reverse apartheid in South Africa? Right? Remember years ago when the white government was in charge and now the black government is in charge and they're going around hacking people up, all the white people up? You don't hear about that much anymore, do you? And taking their land back? Those aren't crimes against humanity? Either one way or another, whether the whites were in charge or the blacks were in charge? ICC never charged anybody for that shit that I can remember. That's just something I thought we concentrate a lot on North Africa because of the terrorists and what goes on there. But the crimes against humanity in South Africa were prominent in the news a couple of years ago, but now nobody cares. Nobody cares about it because it's supposed to be something that's justified.
And they've had many conversations, the prosecutor tells me, with officials inside Israel on this. Now, on the other side, regarding Hamas, the prosecutor has been to the areas inside Israel which were attacked by Hamas, the kibbutzim, the site of the rave party, the Nova party. He has been there.
Two comments that I'm going to make. I know I keep stopping, but you guys, I'm sitting close enough to the screen today where I can see the comments real well. Two comments I want to address. And it's all for making rich fucks richer. Everett Home, that's exactly right. And amazing how focused the reporting is in the first focused on Israel right there. Yeah, whatever Jim Bob said. I want you to think of this. Think about the amount of food, not money, not anything else, just food, prepared meals that USAID sends overseas to hundreds of countries. And think about how the result of starving children in the United States proper, the 50 United States, would benefit from that food. See, USAID just doesn't bring 100-pound sacks of chicken feed and corn and flour. No, they make food that are in like pouches and stuff where you rip it off, and it's major nutrition for your body. Tons and tons of it. How would that benefit the people here in the United States? That you can go out and give it to the homeless people so they can have nutrition. The kids in school where they say if you don't have your $5, you can't get a fucking hot lunch in school. For some kids, that's all that they have. And we're dropping that shit to the fucking Palestinians and the Somalians and every other fucking African country. And whoever takes it, takes it. Oh, well. Think about what that food can do for the United States. And fuck the rest of these people. What am I doing here? Hold on.
He's talked to people, and to hostage families, and he also has seen the evidence that was on all sorts of videos, all sorts of body cams that has been provided, certainly in the public domain, but also by the Israeli government regarding the crimes committed by Hamas on October the 7th. So they have that amount of evidence that has been sufficient, they say, for this round of arrest warrants and charges. And they say that they will continue to investigate, and this may not be the end of it. So let's just again, sum up. On the Hamas side, Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas, mostly military. Mohammed al-Masri, who's better known as Mohammed Deif, his deputy, head of the military wing of Hamas, the Al-Qassam brigades, and Ismail Haniyeh, the head of political arm of Hamas, who frankly is involved in negotiations currently, indirect negotiations between Hamas and Israel regarding the release of Israeli hostages and the capture of Israeli hostages. These sexual offenses and violations and rapes by Hamas also form part of these crimes against humanity that are being sought on arrest warrants for Hamas.
Okay. So she's outlining all the charges that Hamas is going to be charged with. In the same retrospect, blaming Israel for all the stuff that Israel is doing to the Palestinians as crimes against humanity. I wasn't joking around when I said, think about how much of a benefit that those supplies would be to the American population. How much of an uplifting I know Everett Home. I absolutely saw that with the alcohol. How much of an uplifting thing it would be if a lot of these kids that are in the inner cities, especially in this economy that we're in today, who are depending on school breakfasts and school lunches, which this administration is using as a weapon. If the school doesn't want to teach all the gay shit and have all the drag queen stuff and do all this stuff, that they're going to hold funds which impact the food for the kids. That's what all of you fucking people who support this administration, all of you Democrats, this is what your administration's doing. Not my administration. I didn't vote for this shit. Yet we're giving billions of tons of food by air, by sea, and by land to people who we have no idea who the fuck they are. That their own leaders of their own countries don't even keep residents in the Gaza Strip. The leaders of the Palestinian Authority live in Dubai and the UAE, where people abandon Ferraris and Porsches and Lamborghinis because they bought another car and they ain't got room in the garage. That's where the leadership lives. And you're blaming whoever you're blaming for food shortages, this, that, and the other thing, while not taking into consideration the people who are sending the food have millions of people in their own country starving and homeless. And we don't even have a war in this country, technically. We're not being bombarded, technically. And I say technically because not all wars are fought with kinetic weapons. Right? If the Arabs won't take care of their own, Just Josie, why the fuck do we have to take care of them? Where in our Constitution, there you go, Eric. Where in our Constitution does it say that we have to fucking take care of the rest of the world and use the American people and all of their money as a police force? Show me somewhere in the Constitution. What does that say? I donate to the old Israeli and Ukrainian women that are on who said oil man. Yeah, you go. Hey, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, oil man, you'll still be donating to them. You see that old Ukrainian lady over there? She's 162 years old, but she's a Holocaust survivor. And for 5 cents a day, you can give her a box of food the size of Wisconsin. I love those commercials. Yeah, Pilled Whisperer. There you go. Look, I am very impassioned about this. We, as the United States, and I can vouch for this. I can vouch for this because I've been through it. I'm going through it. We should be putting billions of dollars into our healthcare system, not giving it to foreign countries. We should be giving billions, if not trillions of dollars to the health and well-being of every American citizen that graces the dirt of this beautiful country. Trust me, I've been in the healthcare system for months on end, and it could use it. We should be giving food and clothes and houses and everything else to the citizens of this country, not giving foreign aid to other people, where they take American money that we borrow from God knows who the fuck we borrow it from, and go and put it in a Bahamian bank account and go buy houses in the south of France or yachts or send their wives on Beverly Hills fucking shopping sprees for $1 million. Whatever. That's neither here nor there. Our administration, whoever's running this country, is disservicing the most vulnerable of this country. Ever since this administration took office, child poverty is up, homelessness is up, jobs are down. A 30-hour-a-week job at fucking McDonald's is not a job. Okay? So stop trying to pull it off as one. Just because you make $20 an hour and you can still fuck up an order at the drive-thru doesn't mean it's a career. Just saying. $21 billion the federal government gave to Gavin Newsom in California to combat homelessness, and we have gone up 10% in the last year in homelessness, and no accountability for the $21 billion, and are now $78 billion in debt. This is the United States of America. It should never be. Do I feel bad for the Palestinian children? No, not really. Not particularly. I mean, the little babies, the ones who don't know any better, yeah. But you got to remember, from the time that these people are old enough to hate and to understand what hate is, they teach them hate against the West. And I'm the West. So, not for nothing, instead of giving those people food, give it to us. Put the money into our healthcare system, our education system, and our food production. Get your shit straight before you start helping everybody else. That's what they tell you on an airplane. You put your oxygen mask on before you help anybody else. Because if you can't get control of shit, how are you going to get other people in control of shit? So the whole International Criminal Court thing, just to bring it back to full circle, that's a crock of shit. Because you can't get people on crimes when you're allowing crimes to go unabated under your nose. But because the topic of the day is Israel, and Hamas, and Palestine, you're going to come out and you're going to say this shit 2 days after the leader who's putting all the money supposedly into Hamas crashes into a fucking mountain. Gee, how convenient that he's not going to be charged with international criminal crimes or crimes against humanity for executing his own people in his country. Anyway. What's up, Nova X? We're always stewing in a crock of feces. Anyway, that's the last segment I got for today's show. I hope you put both of them together. Like I said, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. What's up, Undead Ramen? How you doing? True things prevail. What's happening? Angela, how are you? I don't put this thing into conspiracy theories. What I do is I point out the obvious. And anybody who wants to look can go on to the USAID website and see what food products are going where. And then tell me if any of those food products, those supplies, those things that they're sending to all of these foreign countries can somehow, some way benefit the American people and the almost 700,000 homeless people, whatever their disability or mental acuity is in this country. If those food products and aid products can help Americans, you can do the research for yourself. I encourage it. It's very sad to look up the numbers. I'm telling you right now. They say it's almost 700,000, 696,000 homeless people since 2020 in this country. That's the current as of January of this year. It's probably more than that now. And how many children are living in poverty? Millions. How many children are going without 3 meals a day? Millions. The numbers are depressingly staggering. And I encourage you all to look it up. Do your own research. Don't take my word for shit. Because when I look up these numbers, I think to myself, how the fuck, intolerant leftist, thank you for the shades, bro, appreciate that. How the fuck do we even have the testicular fortitude, no less to fuel up a plane, but to fill one up with food, fuel it up and fly it to a foreign fucking country and drop it off for somebody else? They should be doing airdrops in downtown LA and Chicago and Atlanta and Manhattan. Fucking Nashville. Fucking Tulsa. San Francisco. They should be airdropping shit into these cities. Detroit. They should be airdropping shit into fucking Detroit. It looks like it was World War II Germany with all the destroyed buildings. They should be airdropping stuff there, not into fucking Palestine or Somalia or Libya or Rwanda or. Okay, I'm stopping now. I'm stopping now. Yes, there's the beeps. There's your beeps. All right, so I want to remind you. I want to remind everybody tonight, 6 o'clock left coast time. I am going to have Salty Nuts and Warrior in the Garden on tonight because I got about 62 billion questions for them asking about why they think that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. Based on Salty Nuts' watching of Tim Pool today, I have to say that he agrees with Tim Pool if he's playing Tim Pool's fuck nuggetry. But I'm gonna put these guys' feet to the fire. They said that Salty said he had sauce. We're gonna make sure that he provides it. So that's tonight at 6 o'clock, right here on the PTP podcast. Bring yourself. That is fucking Salty Nuts with the big green pill. Quintessent, thank you for the can. You know what, DeKalb? I keep getting told I need to stop using logic and common sense and start looking at shit for what it is. I'm Hawaiian in town. How you doing? Just wait, hold on. Don't start prefacing anything, Salty. I was talking about Tim Pool. You just come up here and we're going to ask you a bunch of questions, and we're going to work it out. Don't worry about it. Don't be worried. We're going to work it out. We'll work it all out. No, I don't. I'm not set up for call-ins, Just Josie. I can't. I haven't done anything since I've been home to set that up. I still even have to go into the closet in the studio and find the cables for that. I haven't done it, so no call-ins, but I will be having them up on the panel. Yeah, so tonight that's at 6 o'clock. See, Salty's already in there giving me shit, which perfect for me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show today. We threw out a lot of information. We've been here close to 2 hours. 2 hours. And I think that we threw out a lot of information. Take it easy. Take it easy. I'm just giving you shit. Take it easy. But it's going to be a wholehearted discussion tonight. So I personally don't like Tim Pool. I don't think Tim Pool is a reliable source for sewage, no less anything that has to do with the end days, the end times, or anything biblical. And that's what we're going to discuss tonight. I just like giving Salty Nuts a ration of shit. It's been a long time since I've done it, so it's fun. But he'll be here tonight with Warrior in the Garden, and we're going to ask a lot of questions and get their opinions on stuff. That's all we're going to do. Don't be afraid. Don't worry. Don't worry. But anyway, we threw a lot of information out there. Let all that stuff marinate in your brain pan when you go and watch other people's shows. And ask a lot of questions. It seems like every week that I pass being back on the air, I'm doing more and more research. I've been in the studio since 5:30 this morning, just looking at websites, looking up that stuff on the Pope, looking up stuff on USAID and homelessness, and all those numbers I threw at you are from January forward. of 2024. So it's it's almost a hardship to look at, to see those numbers, and then have people talk about starving people in other countries, and how the Biden administration, if they don't teach certain criteria that has to do with sexual orientation, that they were going to use the funds for the Department of Education against those schools. It just infuriates me that the only ones that they can find to inflict suffering on are the children of this country that are getting a shitty education as it is. I would encourage people to homeschool or private school your kids, because the public education system is a literal shithole. And all my children went through the public education system. Unfortunately, or fortunately, they turned out pretty decent. It may have been a different time or a different place, so we don't know. But anyway, look forward to seeing everybody tonight. Your ex might be the Antichrist? Holy shit. That's not good. I look forward to seeing everybody tonight. Everybody on the YouTube, the D Live, and the X, make your way over to Pilled. Make an account. Use a new email address and a new all that stuff. Don't use your old stuff. Use new stuff. Make an account. Follow me over on Pilled. You get to hang out with people that are not an echo chamber like on YouTube or X. And it's always fun to have opposing views on everything. So thank you for all the gold pills, red pills, blue pills. I'll see everybody tonight, 6 o'clock, right here on the PTP podcast. Until then, have a great rest of your Monday. Bye-bye.